Hey there, I'm Mike DeZorch, and today we're going to have a little discussion about Elite Dangerous. I've got on Discord with me TigerCon, who appears in
Greetings.
some of my videos. Hey, uh, something unprecedented happened recently, and you were watching it today, and I watched a good portion of it. A lot of the big names in the Elite Dangerous community, the pillars of the Elite Dangerous community, were all live streaming and all connected to each other in Discord. The only people they didn't have with them was Blind Pew and Space Giraffe, but they don't really cover Elite Dangerous news. What they do is they do skits in Elite Dangerous. But you had Yannick, you had Elite Dangerous's biggest proponent, Obsidian Ant, and several others all in the same stream. They were each live streaming on their channel, and they were all talking in Discord, and none of them were happy with
Yeah,
the
I've
direction the
been
game's going.
listening to more of it. I haven't gotten through the whole thing yet. In fact, as I was sitting here listening to more of it, it's pretty long.
Yeah,
Um, they did say something about doing these more in the future. I didn't catch that part the first time we watched it. They did say that they were wanting to do this more often. I don't think they've been doing this. At least I've never seen it.
I've
This is the first
never
time
noticed them.
I've never seen it before.
I'm subscribed to two of them. I'm subscribed to Obsidian Ant and Yamix, and
I've got Down to
I've
Earth
never really seen them do anything together.
Down to Earth Astronomy and Commander Ezegius. I've seen him on a number of videos. He's got some good tutorials and stuff. They did mention, by the way, during this that they were thinking about doing these more often,
Yeah,
which is a good thing. I think discussion does need to be continued. I haven't been through all of the video yet. It's long. So if there's things I've missed, that's a possibility. It's things they might have said.
yeah,
But yeah, it's a very interesting discussion about the state of the game.
yeah.
This is sort of a commentary on what they were commenting on um and the state of Elite in general.
Because I went through the expense of actually getting a good quality HOTAS. I mean, I got one. I got the same one you have, which is
Mm-hmm.
uh, the Thrustmaster T16,000.
16,000 M, yeah.
Yeah, and I went through the whole expense of getting the IR transmitter for face
Mm-hmm.
tracker because it can use a webcam. It's supposed to work without IR. That's why it's called face track no IR, but it
Mm-hmm.
has a component for tracking with infrared. I went through the expense of getting one of those to attach to my headphones over there, my gaming rig side, and I got it actually working pretty good. I only ever used it twice because we stopped
And well,
streaming.
I what happens? I kind of walked away from the game. Now as far as playing the game, I play it in VR. I play it on the Vive,
Hmm.
and it's very enjoyable that way.
Yeah,
Um, you know, the, the my general feeling is the mechanics of the game, the the essence of the game itself is probably one of the best experiences in all of gaming. I'll give it that credit.
yeah,
You feel like you're flying an actual complicated piece of machinery. You're operating a vehicle.
yeah,
You there's a lot to know about it, and honestly, the thing needs a flight school.
yes.
Um, but once you kind of get it down, it's complicated. It really is. There's a lot of parts to it,
Hmm.
and the way that you can modify it is really good. The amount of number of modules you can add, and the way that you have to make legitimate choices on how you outfit the ship, how you configure it, how you soup it up with engineering, um, how you play it, what kind of controllers you're using matter,
Hmm.
the kind of way that you view the world,
Yeah,
whether it's on a screen with IR or VR, you know, that's all great,
yeah.
top notch. I mean, nobody touches this, and that
But
Kind
there's
of what
no
it is.
game. But there's no game there around it.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. Once you kind of come to the realization that's all there is, you start scratching your head going, well, now what do I do? And you
Mm-hmm.
have a few options. I mean, when you first get into it, you're flying around the asteroids, especially in VR. It's kind of fun. You're doing, combat zones or whatever. It's kind of great. You do some, you know, combat zones or extraction sites or mining or, you know, now I've never taken them in the Thargoids, but that could be challenging. But did there's a lot of barriers to entry in some cases to doing some of that. And there's a lot of the points that they were even making on the video where, it's like you can have enough credits. I mean, unless you're like constantly playing the game and have taken advantage of the gold rushes, you not have a modest amount of credits. You go out, you fight Thargoids, you get shot down once, and you're done
Yeah.
because you don't have enough for your rebuy.
Because the penalty for death in the game is like really high. I've never seen it except for
It's vicious.
roguelikes
It's vicious.
where except for roguelikes or games specifically where you have only one life, like permadeath games. It's a pretty harsh penalty for death.
Unless you've got the credits, if you don't have the credits
Yeah.
to cover your activities, you're not doing those activities. Because if you do, if you go out that one last time, your ship is gone permanently.
I mean,
and you're back to being broke.
You spent 2 to 3 months building up to get an anaconda, and you outfit it with everything. You take it out, and you get blown up, or you get snagged on your way out of the station, and the station blows you up.
Let me clarify something in what you said.
All
though.
of
When
it.
you say 2 to 3 months, I want to say that in 2 to 3 months, you ought to have a decently equipped anaconda. One, because you can get an anaconda fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But getting it decently outfitted,
Yeah,
it's a lot more work.
I know.
A lot more work.
You could get an anaconda, and then just trying to get it out of the station, getting stuck in the mail slot, trying to get out, and not getting free in time, and the station blows you up. You basically lose all that time, and you start out on a sidewinder again, and you have to do all that grinding again to get those millions to get the ship.
Yeah, and see, they were covering this a little bit. They were basically saying that in some cases, the game's ability to balance itself between progression, going too fast and going too slow, is out of whack.
Yeah.
They were commenting on how you could have people in there only a couple weeks into the game and sitting there with an anaconda and absolutely no clue how to fly it. And at the same time, you could have somebody who is just who knows how to play the game, and is just trying to get to something, and they're just grinding their eyeballs out to get something simple done. The game's dependency on credits and the width of the game's sole dependence on credits to purchase stuff, they're kind of trying to move away from that, but the places they do that at are so grindy, it's painful after a certain point.
The material traders, like, it takes a lot of materials to do that, and finding the materials is RNG. I mean, massive RNG.
There's nothing in the game to assist you whatsoever.
No.
And if there was some mechanism to identify, you scan a star system or some kind of mechanic to say, okay, they give you the basic information. Yeah, sure. And you can kind of use that. But they were talking about an incident in that video I didn't even know happened, where apparently the people who create the third-party tools, I don't know the whole incident. They were just mentioning it briefly. Where apparently they got mad at something, and they shut their tools down, and everything basically went to hell.
Oh.
And that's how much, when your game is that dependent on third-party tools, there's kind of a problem there.
I have never seen a game that is as dependent on third-party tools and third-party sites as this game. I mean,
Yeah,
you
and
used to.
these are things made by people just to
Mm-hmm.
make the game playable,
I mean, there's the
make
Aurealis
it better.
site, which is where you can design, where you can look at, play around with ship builds, and then there's
Oh yeah, because
the
if you didn't have that,
yeah.
you would have no real way of knowing how to outfit your ship,
Mm-hmm.
where you would go, what you would
Yep.
need. I mean, it could eventually figure it out in the game,
Yeah.
but the amount of time it would take you to ultimately sit down and scratch down on a piece of paper all the details that you'd finally build a cohesive list, it would be mind, it would be numb, it would be just it wouldn't be any fun.
And you would go all over the place trying to find all those parts, or you wouldn't even know if some of those parts even
Well,
existed
the
unless you
thing that I
had
learned,
EDDB.
yeah, the thing that I learned was that it's not just a matter of it's the things you need to do to unlock some of these engineers
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of work in its own right.
Yeah.
I never got through it. I mean, my goal was I was trying to treat that as some kind of content to give me something to do, and it was boring. It was like mind numbing. It was like the same thing over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. I mean,
And it was after a while, it was just like, why am I doing this?
I used to do a lot of mining, and all mining is just you sitting there in front of an asteroid, shooting your mining beam, and waiting for your limpets to come bring your stuff back. And if you didn't have limpets, then you
they're going to be changing mining, but I don't have a lot of faith in what they're going to do. The biggest problem is this game has a bit of an identity crisis when it comes to what the game is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And the reason the fans get into large arguments over this in the forums and stuff is because Frontier is not very clear themselves on it's the game they're making, and they're not being clear on what they mean for the game to be.
Mm-hmm.
Is it all about the credits, or is it about the content and the credits are just a means to that end? The players have to the players come up with their own opinions because the game doesn't define that. Some say it shouldn't. But it's like the barrier to entry towards all about that. And then when they have these incidents where they've screwed something up by making a change, and then suddenly everybody's taking advantage of it. You give what they call a gold rush.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you have people who don't play the game until they hear about a gold rush in, do it, make billions,
Mm-hmm.
play for a little while, and then quit because they're bored.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing left to do.
There's no end game. Once you get all the ships and you engineer all of them, there's nothing to do.
There's nothing really to do.
Nothing new to do because it's all the same content. It's all mining and exploring and
it's not even mining
and fighting. That's basically it.
It's not even that. I mean, sometimes those can be activities depending on what your preferences are.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you're stuck roaming on the surface of a planet, picking up rocks because it's the only way to do the other stuff. And that you're wandering back and forth between two stations trying to deliver commodities as you're trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
You know, and you're only doing it to buy the next ship size up to do it even more.
Yeah.
It's like you started this small ship, you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, what Gamex pointed out was there's all this effort, and you can go do these combat zones and only make a small amount of money, and at the same time, you can go do the road to riches and make a lot of money for kind of no effort.
Mm-hmm.
But that only works until you run out of those to do. You know, so it's just all out of. The point is, it's all out of balance. The game is just all over the place in terms of it doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah. Now, for people watching this, the road to riches, what that is a route through the galaxy where there is a there's a large concentration of planets that are worth a lot, Earth-like worlds and water planets, and those are worth a lot more for scan data. So that's why they call it the road to riches.
You follow. You go from star system to star system. You it's a good way to boot your. But see, here's the problem. you can take the road to riches,
Mm-hmm.
and you can start out with a sidewinder, do a few missions, get yourself into a hauler, get a decent great engine for very little, go to this road to riches, make a bunch of money, come back, buy an anaconda, take you X amount of time, maybe a few days, have an anaconda, and not how to play the game.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, now what do I do?
Because going up to a bigger ship doesn't change the gameplay at all.
It doesn't change the gameplay. The
doesn't
gameplay
change
stays
what
the
you can
same.
do, because you can do the same
And
thing with the
even
bigger
if you
ship.
go through the grinding of opening up the ranks, because some are rank locked,
Mm-hmm.
which the ranks don't mean anything. It's literally you do a bunch of random missions that don't really mean anything. They give you these, they give you you do have a rank up that you basically fill up a scale
Mm-hmm.
bar. You go and find this one mission and says, okay, you're ranked up, but you don't get any other benefits except for buying these other ships.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like something, but when you get into it, you find out by doing it, it sounds like more than it really is.
Yeah.
You find out there's really not that much there.
There's the whole thing with getting guardian weapons, where you had to go to the guardian rules, and you had to do this one thing 20 different times in order to get these items.
Yeah.
And it's like just a grind just to be able to unlock being able to buy them.
Yeah.
You don't actually get the items, you get the ability to buy them.
It's just there's so many ways. It's like there are ways around some of the lower level grinding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of the stuff is really hard to deal with. It's when you try to engineer your ship, that's when things really go sideways.
Yeah.
Because then it really is a serious grind fest.
They've improved the engineers to a certain extent, but they offset that with the more massive grind. Actually, it's worse grinding than it was before.
It's way worse. It's way worse than it used to be, in my opinion. It's
the material traders that make it worse.
Because they want quantities that are impossible to get. You can't trade up. You literally have to just do it the old way you used to do it, which kind of defeats the point of those guys.
Yeah.
The point of those guys was to be able to get rare materials that were hard to get in the game. What you come out to find out is the better way to get those materials is still the way they were originally gotten. Because you need so many of the lower tier material to get to the one that you wanted, you're grinding worse than if you had just gone out and did the original material to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like if it takes an hour to grind to get it an average of an hour to get the original material, the material trader, a lower level material, which is easier to get, let's say you need to do 20 minutes worth, 20, 40, let's say 10 minutes. So it's like 10 minutes. So you have to do it 5 times or 6 times or whatever. I can't, my math fucks right now. But you have to do just as much work to get the same amount as if you'd just gotten one.
Yeah.
You wind up with the same number in the end and the same amount of time. It didn't actually benefit. It didn't help anything. It just made you feel like you're making progress. In the end, you spent the same amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, to a lesser extent, Final Fantasy XI was like this, but not as bad.
Well, 11 had story, content, story. There's no story to this game.
There's not. Power Play was an opportunity for them to bring a story campaign into the game, make it worth it, and it's not.
There's no story there.
Yeah, there's no story there, and now they've ripped Power Play out of single player.
There's more narration in the tutorials than there is in the actual game.
Yeah.
That's literally it. I mean, there are some events in there, but there's literally nothing without going to a third-party website to locate those narratives in the game. The generation ships and all that, I've never seen any of it. I don't even know how you find it.
The generation ship with the voice logs and everything
and all that other stuff. Yeah, I've never seen any of it.
But you have to it's like trying to find needles in a haystack. It's a
Oh
big
no,
galaxy out there.
needles in a haystack. Like Tony Stark said, just bring a magnet. The problem with Elite Dangerous is their needles are plastic.
Ah, we'll just burn the hay.
No, because then you wouldn't be able to. Then you would melt the plastic.
Yeah, true.
So that won't even work. Any effort you make will just make it worse.
But the discussion is, is Elite Dangerous dying? And I understand
They've started a campaign recently trying to get people back into the game.
Yeah.
It was some kind of bonus weekend, which they screwed up, by the way. They made everyone do all kinds of work for getting material upgrades, and they give them the wrong information. And because even I understood it in the way the guys in the video were talking, and I'm like, yeah, that's what they said. Apparently, it didn't work that way. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad I didn't try it because I'd have been screwed because that's what I would have done. But apparently, they boosted the trade values and they made engineering supposedly easier to do. And they failed on both counts. Engineering was broken in terms of what they tried to get you to do. And then the trading was, you could make money better other ways.
Yeah.
So the boost wasn't really all that great. I didn't look up the whole thing. I didn't even participate. But to me, it says that their numbers are getting low. Why would they be trying to get people back into the game?
Now, granted, now I know that during this particular time of year, a lot of things do drop off. Like in Gamers Bay, numbers have been dropping off because people are getting out of school and they're going on vacation, everything. So that might be that, but I think this might be a little bit more than that.
I think this is more than that because I think what's happening is people are looking at the future of the game. And I think what it's really going to come down to is looking at what they're doing for this coming year. I mean, there's still content we don't know about. There's still stuff that we don't know about. There's supposedly some sort of paid content, and maybe that'll help revive the numbers. It always is a bump when they add something significant.
Thing is, the last time they added paid content was the Horizons update. And what did that add? Landing on barren worlds with nothing on it.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was, it's cool for the first, 10, 15 times you do it, and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do down here?
Yeah.
I can land, I can get out. It's cool, I can drive around, that's fun. And yeah, that one.
Drive around through the same barren, bleak landscape and occasionally fire at a rock to get random materials.
Yeah. And people are upset with No Man's Sky. That's hilarious. Like, at least there's more on the planet than just rock. I mean, at least, there's something else besides a gray field with nothing there and a rock.
Yeah.
And occasionally you'll come across something. I mean, I've gotten myself into trouble a few times, but those encounters are not very common.
Once you see one skimmer, you see them all.
Yeah.
The skimmer encounters.
Any of these types of procedurally generated games have this problem. It's how you deal with it. And it's like the community has to come up with their own mentality, their own, not like, that the game has to provide everything. In some ways, believe it or not, there are people who actually miss, I hate to go back to this, but the older No Man's Sky, because it was less story driven, less guided, they liked the ambiance of just openness. And so some people appreciate the openness that Elite has, and they can basically make their own narrative.
Yeah.
But that doesn't excuse the game from not providing something when you don't, that's really not enough. There's only so many self-driven stories you can sort of roll with.
I know.
You have to sit there and make up stuff just because the game doesn't have anything to go with it.
I mean, there's like groups that organize races and...
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. All that's great. But it's the community having to put up with the fact that there's nothing else there.
Yeah.
And it's not even the fact that it's open like that. That's not a bad thing. I wouldn't want too many restrictions, but it's how many different other kind of mechanics are there in the game that you can interact with? You've got what is there? There's the mission board, which really is, you know, fly here and deliver this, go there and shoot that, go here and mine this rock, or deliver this passenger from point A to point B,
or go to this planet and scan this structure, scan this one thing and get a bounty for it. We're doing it, or go shoot these skimmers and get a bounty for that.
It sounds like a lot until you realize every one you do is identical to the one you just did. It sounds like, well, look, that sounds like a long list. Not really, because what you find out is the only thing that changes is the target, and sometimes even that doesn't change.
Like passenger mission, like passenger missions are just a glorified cargo run.
Cargo run, yeah. And all this is fine, and the ships being fun to fly sort of makes up for it a little bit, because that's fun to do. But if you get bored of that, it's like if that becomes old, yeah, you're done with this game.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it just won't hold up after that. It is literally the epitome of a mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other game that has this issue more than this game. Even No Man's Sky has passed this up a little bit.
Yeah.
In terms of, adding more content, in terms of, things that you can do and build and mechanics, the number of things possible in comparison is actually starting to become, it's going to be interesting to see where next rolls with it.
Oh, yeah. Like No Man's Sky, you can explore the galaxy. You can go from world to world and explore and scan fauna and flora and fauna and find interesting things. You can build a base up. You can create things. You can edit the terrain. There's a terrain editor.
Now, I will grant it that most of these mechanics aren't that deep either, but the interesting thing was I was looking at a video for a type of farm that you can build. There's one video, this guy has this farm with this tier 5 item that you can, worth 18 million a piece. But it's a tier 5 item, and to build it, you got to go through a lot of work. But once you do that, you build about 2 rounds of this farm, and just there's nothing in the game you could buy. But the build up to that, the amount of work you have to do to build up to that, to get that, if you start out from just a crash ship starting out, to get up to that level, you've basically, to make that one farm, you've played the entire game for the most part.
Yeah.
Because if you've done the story and the Atlas Path and you got through those, and then you build this farm, you're done. You've played the entire game for the most part by the time you've got to the end of that. Now, this is where, the game sort of ends as a single player game, except for just wandering randomly through space.
Yeah.
That's where it kind of falls off. It doesn't have an end game in that regard, because it's the end of the game, except for what you just care to explore on your own. I know I'm getting off topic here.
Yeah.
But multiplayer is about to come to this game, or come to No Man's Sky. And what's going to happen is that's going to put these two, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because that's going to put these two games at parallel with each other in terms of where, someone spends their time in interacting with other people in the kind of community.
Yeah.
Now, they're different games. They're all going to have their fans. They're not really going to cross over. The most amazing thing to me, though, was a forum today, a thread that was literally, you had to do a double take. Am I in a No Man's Sky thread, or am I in an Elite Dangerous thread? Because right now, this smells and tastes like an Elite Dangerous thread of people complaining, screaming, and yelling about solo versus open for No Man's Sky. I'm just sitting there going, am I in the right forum? I'm just sitting there like, am I reading the right thing? Because it felt so much like an Elite Dangerous thing.
It's a subject that's invariably going to come up with this game.
And it will. And the thing is, though, I feel like not the hardcore fan, like you're never going to get Yamix and Obsidian and all them to move over to No Man's Sky. You won't ever see them. Those guys are Elite Dangerous forever, and they're not who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But your casual player, now we don't know what's in next yet, and we don't know what's coming later this year for Elite. We know that each game is going to be significantly updated.
Yeah.
But given the update history of how much was added and the fact that No Man's Sky is getting multiplayer, full-on multiplayer, including that guy, as Sean Murray put it, it's really dangerous. It's those guys.
And it's been those guys, and they are sort of
those guys.
Been those guys, and they are sort of a very big problem for the game.
And that's what's hurting that game. Because here's what I think: the punishment for assuming nothing changes in No Man's Sky in terms of being shot down, as opposed to the being shot down in Elite Dangerous, the penalty Elite Dangerous is way higher, way higher. I mean, you might lose the contents of your ship in No Man's Sky. You lose those contents, but honestly, you can get shot down by a pack of raiders if you're not watching what you're doing. You can get into trouble pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you kind of can get away, but you can have somebody really chase you down maybe, and that might be a thing. But there's a number of differences that to a casual player who's not really, dedicated to one or the other, might look at these two and go, I play that game and I'm doing all this grinding. I get shot down. Even if it's not even from a griefer, I'm just doing the content. And let's say I have let's say I got 3 or 4 hours worth of bounties and I go a little too long. I overextend myself and I get shot down.
Yeah.
Every ounce of that work is gone.
Yeah.
All 2-3 hours is wiped away and you're in debt. You have less money at the end of that. All because you made a simple mistake. You've lost 2 or 3 hours or however long you've played, wiped out in an instant, no recovery, and you're less money. That after a while can be a disincentive.
Yeah.
Whereas, assuming nothing changes, but again, we don't know what kind of changes next is going to bring. If it's just the contents of the hold in your cargo, don't bring anything valuable with you if you're going to go on these kind of runs.
Yeah.
Keep your really important crap at home.
Yeah, keep it at home or in your exosuit inventory, or just fly up to if you have one, fly up to your freighter, put it in your freighter, and then go out.
Store your goods, and then go do whatever it is you're going to do. There's no equivalent to bounty collecting, at least not that we know of.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something risky, you have a way to mitigate that damage a little bit, that your time is not completely wasted. Now, again, there are changes that we don't know about. But as a casual player, you might go through both of these and go, why would I want to play the game where it's going to wipe out everything, as opposed to the other game where it's like, it's not going to be so brutal. And if you do run into that guy, the disparity of overpoweredness that he can be against you in Elite Dangerous, by the time you know that guy has found you, you find it out because you're already Ash.
Yeah.
Where, assuming they don't change the mechanics of the ships, again, this is going by what we know.
Yeah.
There's what we don't know.
We still don't know a lot about what's going to be in next,
right.
What's going to change.
The disparity between the ships is nowhere near as wide. That if you've got, your 3 shield upgrades and you have them configured properly and you happen to be carrying enough resources, you have a decent chance of getting away from that guy. Flying into a station, flying down to a surface, landing, whatever it might take. We don't know the mechanics of how multiplayer is going to work.
Yeah.
We're just making several assumptions here that, stations, we don't know if there'll be a no fire zone inside them or something. Like around Elite Dangerous, there's that thing. We don't know, how freighters will interact if you summon your freighter. And if your freighter can assist you, we don't know if your freighter will be able to assist you in combat if you're being attacked. I don't think it does now. I don't think, but then again,
I don't think it does now.
I don't think it does now.
Not unless it gets not unless the enemy following you fires and hits the ship, it won't fire back.
Yeah. So I don't know how that. I've never actually tried it. It's something I'd like to try.
Hmm.
To see if you can lure them into attacking your freighter and having your freighter go ham on them.
Yeah.
Because so that makes it dangerous. If that mechanic works where you can summon your freighter and your freighter can join the fray, you might encounter somebody and have an all out fleet battle before too long. You've called your freighter and you've got this massive Star Destroyer like freighter, zoom, and he's like, oh crap. So he calls his freighter, boom, and the next thing you know, you got this whole freaking space battle going on. So running into that guy may be a hell of a lot more entertaining
Yeah.
than just being Ash before you even know you were spotted.
Yeah. It's like they're
That's a
bringing
big difference.
they're bringing what squadrons and fleet carriers to
Yeah,
Elite
and
Dangerous.
those you won't have no control over.
And from what we've been learning, one, the squadrons are limited in size, so a lot of big groups like Mobius and stuff, they're going to be splintered. And that also
you'll have to have smaller teams of groups of people because as far as I know, they haven't gotten past the 250 limit number, at least as far as I've heard.
And that'll hurt a lot of the player-based factions in the game that were blessed by Frontier Developments to be able to have a faction in the game. And
they'll have to set their squadrons as subgroups of subgroups.
Mhm.
They'll have to create their own squadron rankings among the squadrons.
Yeah.
In order to make it work.
And then what we know of the fleet carriers is, and this is based on what they've done with past content, it's just going to be more grinding to,
because they basically made the comment you have to fuel them to fly them, and when it comes to those types of ships, you never see them actually move.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, there are these types of ships in the game now, and the way that they work is they have a flight path that they follow throughout the game.
Yeah,
I had to find one of these one time. I forgot why, and they jump from system to system to system to system, and they do it once a week. And once they go in a spot, there's an instance that's created specifically for them, and then the fleet would fly up to it. So my guess is the players would get some semblance of control over where this thing would show up, and it was probably going to move once a week or something.
But you wouldn't be able to control it like a huge ship.
But you're not flying this thing, and you're not going to be on board managing it. Other people can't join you and meet you there and fly into it and see what you've done to it. They've made the outside customizable. They said they're going to do something like that. The outside is like changeable, so people can fly by it and go, "Ooh, pretty ship," and most people aren't going to care.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to be any functional mechanic that's going to be meaning anything, because you're going to have to grind to keep it stocked. In other words, it's just a large capital ship that gives you the same services that every other starport gives you, with maybe a few exceptions, but you have to grind it in order to make it do what you already get someplace else.
Yeah.
It has to give you something you don't otherwise already currently have. Otherwise, it's not going to be worth anything. But everything we know about it so far is it's only going to give you what you only really get from other places.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see what the benefit is.
Yeah.
Other than going, ooh, I got this pretty cool ship. Yeah, and you have to grind to make it work to do what other ships already do for you already. And it will probably still shoot your ass out of the sky if you bang on it the wrong way.
Contrast that with EVE Online, a game that basically takes player agency to like literally a whole new level, where players are free to create their own factions and whole governments and corporations.
Yeah, with creative community
with thousands of players, thousands of them. They've had wars that have spanned entire quadrants and whole star systems. There was even, I think there was like a book that's coming out, or was going to come out, about these various wars. They had this massive war that was covered in mainstream news. It was so big. These battles were so big, like 3,000 ships, and the equivalent of like several $billion worth of money in ships destroyed.
Yeah. And see, I don't
And
ever expect No Man's Sky to reach that level.
yeah, I've never expect No Man's Sky to reach that level. Elite Dangerous could have, if they had, opened it up to where players could create their own factions.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to get to is there's really no sense of real community other than what the players have to manufacture themselves.
Yep.
In game, there's nothing. I mean, No Man's Sky has this right now with the hub.
Yeah.
But what I am expecting is a type of guild hub type support to be in there. Now, that's not confirmed yet or anything. Nobody said there is, but
yeah. I thought I heard there was going to be hub support for hubs.
I think there will be. Because they're talking about player-run colonies. I mean, multi-planetary colonies. That says hub all over it.
Yeah.
Player-run communities. So it's not like he said it word for word, but you can take from what he said and say, well, what does this represent if you spelled it out in full? Well, if you've got a multi-person colony, it's going to be like sort of a Minecraft multi-user construction type of thing. So, and we know these ships, if you look at the ARG gave us images of these ships, and you can have these capital ships, I'm calling them, show up.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're multi-crew, but we know they have, docking rings or docking ports on the side. I'm assuming you could show up to a system. It's got guns on it. I'm assuming those work. And then the ships can launch out.
Yeah.
And so you can take it into battle. Elite doesn't have any of that. And even when we get those carriers, they're not going to be movable. They're not going to be flyable. They're not going to be engaged in combat. You can barely have your own people there, much less anybody else in any kind of conflict whatsoever. There's no support for that.
Yeah, it's like
there's not going to be.
It's like in EVE, these whole factions build these gigantic ships and pilot them into battles. These massive vessels, and they build their own space stations, their own headquarters stations, and they even control the star systems that they're in. They get to control them.
What we're getting at here is, even though the ships are technically beautiful to fly, and that whole process is beautiful to itself. It's a space opera of itself, but the content past that point, is lacking.
Very
seriously.
lacking. Yeah.
And other games in the same genre or very close to it are starting to catch up in ways that matter, or have already exceeded it in ways that they're going to start pulling on the casual player, not the hardcore guys. We know they're not, but are starting to pull on that casual crowd that is going to start drawing that out, and it's going to just thin out that content for them to bring these people over there to these other games, EVE, or probably not. If you're not already into EVE, you're probably not going to be.
No, you're never going to get the diehard EVE players to come over to No Man's Sky.
No. Those
you're
guys,
never going to get the diehard Elite Dangerous players to come over.
I don't think EVE is a casual game player's game.
No, EVE is not for casual players. No,
but No Man's Sky is. No Man's Sky is a casual game player's game.
Yeah.
You can pick it up, play it for a while, have fun, put it down. And what I think is going to happen, just based on what we know so far, there's going to be more draw in that for the casual player than what Elite's going to have. You're not going to be as brutalized for content as Elite is. I mean, unless they do it, but I doubt it. I mean, it would be silly for them to do that. I don't think that's their goal for that game. In fact, it's becoming a game that I don't even think they expected to make in the way that it's becoming. But what we're getting at here is that Elite Dangerous has become very good at alienating people, making people mad at it. Even its hardcore players are very frustrated with the game. Even folks like Obsidian Ant are becoming, kind of put off by some of the things that they've done.
Very calm and professional when he speaks in his videos, but even then, you can still
But
tell
he's got some
the
strong criticisms
frustration
for that. Yeah,
in his voice.
that there is a sense of, I love this game, but they're driving me nuts.
And Yamix, oh, he's always outspoken.
He'll tell you straight out that this shit stinks. And these are guys who love that game. They love to play it. They love to fly it. They love the ships. They love the content. They're far along in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they're getting frustrated because the game is lacking and it doesn't look like Frontier is really understanding what the players are needing. And you listen to that video, that's kind of what they were kind of going on about, is they love this game dearly. It's their favorite game. It's their, it's their thing. Their whole YouTube channels are based around it and everything. And it's just, you can tell it's frustrating them that it's not being improved in a way that matters.
Yeah.
That they're not taking the community seriously in a way that is, progressing the game in ways it needs to go. It's like there's a lot of cop-outs, and it's like there's an identity crisis. It's like they even say it in their video, and I think they'd be right, that it doesn't look like Frontier plays their own game. Because it doesn't take a genius to figure out these problems.
Mm-hmm.
Just play the game for a month, and you can be able to sit down and spell out every issue with it. Yoshi
P plays Final Fantasy 14. He's got a black mage.
They were like, oh, we've been playing this game for 6 months, and we're having a ball. You can tell he had a smile on his face because he saw something that he can't wait to share.
Yeah,
he wants to share what he saw. He's like, oh, just wait till you see it. The essence of it is what he was trying to describe. And he's not the best articulator. He's not the best public spokesperson, but you could just see the kid, like the childlike glee on his face for what he had been playing.
Yeah,
and he's having a ball with it. And I think that's what he wants to share. And he's having fun. And that's what these games are. They should be fun. They shouldn't be your second job. Elite Dangerous is good because flying the ships is fun, but it dies off after that. Where, Hello Games, wants it to be fun, and that's what they're working on. And I think if Frontier, nobody's having fun over there.
They're not listening to anybody, and
they're not listening. Yeah,
they have a vision, or I don't even know if they even have a vision for the game.
I don't know what their vision. I think the problem is they don't even know what their vision is anymore.
But
they don't even know what they want.
But Hello Games, they listen to the community, and they have demonstrated time and again that they are willing to change the game fundamentally,
even when it's not their vision of it.
Yeah, even if it's not their vision, if it's good for the players, they will change it.
Their vision was very close to what 1.0 was in some ways. Their vision was a game where you're flying a spaceship and you fly through eternity just looking at the sightseeing tour of the universe.
Yeah.
That's what it was. A sightseeing tour of the universe.
Yeah.
And they realized that ain't going to work.
No.
That did not work. It's not it lasts for as long as the procedural generation can give you unique planets, which is fairly short, and then you run out of content. They figured that out pretty dang fast.
Didn't help that they made a big deal out of getting to the center of the galaxy, and then when you get there, it's just
they made some mistakes. I mean, that was broken. That was definitely broken. But instead of, there's no need to go into all that dead horse stuff.
No.
But the point is, they realized that they need to take the game into a new direction. What they had wasn't working, and it was fun up to a point, but it died off very, very fast.
Yeah.
And I remember watching Angry Joe, and he wasn't like freaked out over the hype, but he had the same experience watching him that I had. Well, this is kind of cool. Okay, this is cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, I saw that. Okay, there's something new. I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw it again. I saw it again. Wait, I keep seeing that. Okay, wait, was there anything else? And then it's like, okay, what else is there?
Yeah.
And then you're staring there going, is that it? And you're just going to sit there dumbfounded going, shouldn't this have lasted longer than this? And you're done. And that's what happened back then. And that's what everybody kind of, and I'm not into the hater crap, but that's really the experience of someone who was looking forward to the game really had.
Yeah.
It sort of died on you pretty quick. And you got the Foundation update, which okay, we got some new stuff, and then you got the Pathfinder, and then God 1.3. You know, I'm a big freaking Stargate fan. And when I saw those portals, that portal opened for the first time, and the way that they dialed,
that whoosh.
Oh God, they just that up into the table, that flipped the table for me. I'm like, oh my God, they added literally a working Stargate system, and it matters in all of the important ways.
And the control panel looks like a DHD.
DHD. I'm surprised they never got sued for it, but I guess it's different enough to work. I mean, nice, you know, controlling ideas so much, but it feel. I mean, you've got to have gate addresses. You know, you've got to have these. And they're hexagonal codes, just like, you know, like you kind of thing. And it's like, you know, you convert them over to the symbols, and it's like it really changes it, because when you talk about that guy and the griefing and Elite Dangerous that's chasing everybody out of the game, or a lot of people out, or why they'll never go to open because they don't want to just deal with it. Here's the thing. In Elite Dangerous, this is something I told you earlier, and I think I can say this here. In Elite Dangerous, you have a defined human bubble space. That's where all the inhabited systems are. And even though the game is giving you the entire galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, rendered down to even errors in scientific data show up in the game.
Yeah.
Because the stars are all aligned in weird ways, only because it's what we have for scientific data, which is cool in its own right. There's nothing out there. You have to be, in order to really have anything to do, you have to be in human space.
Yeah.
You have to be at the bubble or out in the colony.
And
Colonia.
What he's describing as the bubble is regions of influence for each of the major game factions in the game. Military superpowers, which is the
Foundation for power play, which is boring.
The Federation, anyway, the Empire, and the Alliance.
Yeah, and their corresponding factions within them.
Yeah, which don't really matter.
There's nothing to do outside of those spaces. There's nothing out there. You know, there's really nothing beyond that.
I mean,
extremely little.
I streamed a good portion of our journey out to Colonia, and you just jump from star system to star system. There's nothing really to do but to scan, pick up scan data,
and that's it. Other than the fact that you're doing it, but you know, I mean, it's kind of fun in its own kind of exploratory Star Trek kind of way. But after a while, it does get old.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. There's nothing beyond those spaces, right? So you're trapped within that space for the most part, unless you're specifically exploring.
Yeah.
But if you're inside that bubble area, you're open. If you're in open, you're pretty much you're open season. Anybody sees you and come across you, decide to take you out, they can. And if you're working at a specific starbase and building up your credits or building up your reputation with the local factions because you're trying to do something, and somebody comes along and harasses the hell out of you, you have no choice but to start over someplace else, which may not be as nice as what you had there, because maybe you picked that spot because it was on a good trade route, or you picked it because it was close to a specific destination for a particular passenger type of mission, or just because you thought it looked cool for whatever your reason were.
Yeah.
And then somebody can come in and harass you to the point where you can't be there anymore. It's no fun anymore because you're always getting shot down just leaving the damn thing. You can go and you can always run the solo, but they say you don't want to do that. Let's say you want to be out with the people. And you have one guy sitting there constantly. Now you could block him or whatever, but you know, it's just a mess. No Man's Sky, especially with portals, that portal system, you dial your ass a random address, he will never find you again.
Yeah.
Never. Unless he knows the address you went to, he will never see you
again.
The
portal doesn't close behind you.
Well, you we don't know how that's going to work in multiplayer.
Yeah,
He would
true.
have to chase you through, and we don't know how they're going to change the mechanic of portaling in the new one.
Because the way it works now, when you go through, it stays open so you can get back because you
But
don't have
it
any
does,
way of
like,
calling
if
your
I open
ship.
the portal, if I open the portal for mine right now,
Yeah.
you can't go through that. You have to dial that address yourself.
Yep.
So if I go through, he'll never see me again. But assuming that there's some semblance of, we don't know how that's going to work, if it's going to leave the portal open or not.
Yeah.
And he would literally have to just outright directly chase you. And we don't know how they're going to manage portals opening on either end. We don't know if it's going to take a star gate like mechanic. I mean, you could go on the other end, close the portal, turn around and dial back, and then he can't dial it because you're holding the gate open or some crap. And then you just, summon your ships and fly off and
Yeah,
get
or he comes through and goes on your iris.
Oh, I wish that would be so funny. That would be so good. It's like it's like he sees you run down to the planet, and he sees you clunk, 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 clunk on the portal, and you go through, and he darts in after you. Boom! He sees a death screen. Because on your way, you come out, and here it comes close behind you, and he just goes thump on the other side, and he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
That would be for the win right there. Please, Hello Games, add irises or some shielding on the gate that if we close it on one side and they come through, thump. Yeah, you just hear thump. It's like, he's gone.
Either that or he comes out the other side and a bunch of turrets on that end just start opening fire.
Yeah. Troll me again, will you? They're going to have to give us some kind of portal exploration device to send through ahead of us.
Yes.
You know it. And the one place is going to be trolled really bad is that first glyph. But anyway, the point is, you can see already how much fun you can have with just the idea of what they're planning on doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in Elite Dangerous that can even give you the hint of that kind of excitement.
No.
What do we got coming? What is coming for this year? We've got the squadrons and the fleet carriers.
Yeah.
Which is more of what we already have. They're going to give you the ability to blow up an asteroid, and that'll be fun for all of 20 minutes until you get tired of blowing up rocks.
We don't even know what that's even going to entail.
Well, considering they show a photograph of a rock exploding, I would assume you're going to be able to detonate large explosives.
Yeah.
Well, initially that'll be pretty fun.
It might be an explosive limpet or something.
Yeah, some kind of detonation with limpet drills a minor, some kind of detonator limpet.
Yeah.
That kind of drills in a kind of super explosive, and the whole thing goes boom, which makes you wonder why you don't use it on something else. But you got that. Maybe some kind of guardian weapon or something that pulls off an explosion. And then what else do they have? They have exploration changes.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to make more stellar phenomenon.
Yeah.
Okay. Ice planets. We got ice planets coming. Landable atmospheres with ice, or landable planets with ice on them, so you can land on ice worlds.
Yeah.
That's coming.
They're supposed to make more interesting surface features. But
okay.
Really, are they just gonna add a new coat of paint to what's already there?
That's the concern.
Because their current track record's not great.
The terrain did look more dynamic. I'm assuming it's more than just flat, but it's just going to be harder to drive across.
Yeah.
But, okay, so where's all the fun in all this so far? It's something pretty to look at. You blow some rocks up or see some ice worlds, or you might actually see a comet or two.
Yeah.
But listen to what we were saying about the possibilities of just how to do multiplayer with an actual freaking working Stargate. The possibilities there are through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we don't know how they're going to implement it because we don't know how multiplayer is going to be implemented. But that they're going to have a mechanic for that, because if you have 4 guys in a team, and it literally looks like you're going to have a party of 4 by the way they're kind of doing the box art and other things.
There's the box art. When you see the logo for Next, you'll see 4 dots underneath the word Next.
Mm-hmm. And also, there's the hologram that had the four guys kind of making one guy, like a team. Like the 4 make up the 1.
Well, that's
That's
sort
like
of
a
how
party.
that particular software works. I've seen
Yeah,
that
but
before.
no. But think about the way that think about what it's representing, though.
Yeah, I
The
yeah.
the fact that
They're
it's four making one. I know that's how it works, but what a perfect analogy for the four being the one.
and Hollow
I
Games
get
has
what you're
been
saying,
known
but
for
I think
using symbolism like
I think
that.
it has a more meaning to that, huh?
They have been known for using symbolism like that.
Right,
That kind of
right.
symbolism in the game.
And then there is four people on the box with four ships in the air.
Yeah.
So, and then we have those capital ships that have the gun turrets and a hexagonal docking port on the side.
Yeah.
Because that's like what you see on the Atlas stations, the hexagonal docking ring or docking port. So it's like you have a party of four, multi-crew type situation. And we don't even know we know the instances currently support up to 16, but I'm assuming they're going to get more than that. That was just like their test bed thing to see if it works. But if you have 5-10 people on board, you got a couple of gunnery crew and a navigation or helm, and then you can launch 4 or 5 fighters out it. That alone sounds fun. And there's evidence to suggest this might be a thing.
Yeah.
What I was saying about the Stargates earlier and all the fun that if somebody dials it, the other 4 guys shouldn't have to dial it as well. If the first person dials it and the gate opens, they should all see it.
Yeah.
And they go boom, 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 boom behind it. And you would logically want defenses on the other side to keep somebody who's, an opposing team from doing something on the other side. They come through. They should be able to see that. They come through, and you could have defense turrets on the other side. That might be a thing. We don't know.
We don't know.
But you're going to have multiplayer. You're going to have buildable colonies. We don't know what the limitations are going to be, but we know that he said cross-planet colony type thing. This sounds bigger. It's not going to be small like base building because you're going to have a bunch of people working on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but all that sounds fun. When you look at the 2 updates, which one sounds more fun?
Yeah.
Even though we don't know how they're either one going to work. Just the speculation alone. Which one's really giving you more gameplay? Right?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people have different opinions. That's okay. People don't like this game. People don't like that game.
Thing is, Frontier does not have a very good track record right now, and they're
whenever they add new content, it doesn't stand up.
Yeah, they make a big deal about all this content. When you actually look at it, it's like it's really not that much, and it's more of the same thing with a new coat of paint.
Everything I heard for the engineers excited me when it came to what they were going to do, because I hated trying to cap out my ship. And I love the idea that there was a kind of a cap on it, because that meant that I have the option of being on par with everybody else on even footing.
Yeah.
But the sheer volume of work that then started to have to go into it, I found that I was doing way more work just trying to get up to a tier 5 than I ever was just going straight to a tier 5 and getting a randomly decent roll that I was more than happy with. It's like my Diamondback Explorer that I had, my little hot rod red Diamondback Explorer that I love to fly. The version I had in 2.4 had a decent jump range, and it did not take much to get that jump range. I got the 3 items. They weren't that hard to get. I got enough for a few good rolls. I got a decently lucky roll. It wasn't a god roll, but it was a good roll. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I started a separate account, got a Diamondback Explorer, configured it the same way. I went to go get all the materials and everything set up for that one, the ship to have the same grade 5 engine.
Yeah.
Grade 5, it was way, 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 way more work involved. And the material traders did not help. I was excited for them. They did not help. It was more effort to get the materials needed to get these guys to, bump it up to, because the tiers are so dispersed that you have to have so many of the lower tier items that you might as well just skip it and just go get the raw item itself. It's faster.
I'm going to say this, is that there is so little actual content to the game that...
Hold on, let me finish
Yeah.
one thought real quick.
Okay.
That the ship that I ultimately built, this is my point though.
Yeah.
The ship that I ultimately got from all that work was hardly much faster than the one with the original that I had actually had. It didn't make that big a difference. Anyway, go ahead.
All I was going to say is there's really not that much real content to the game that
No.
Frontier Developments has to put these speed bumps in the way of getting these bigger ships to make it seem like there's more to the game than there actually is.
They're artificially adding speed bumps because there's no real progression.
Yeah. And
then when people jump the gate on that, they make more speed bumps.
Mm-hmm.
And then people figure out how to drive the ditch. Then they set up a ramp to jump over it. Then they just build a bridge across it. Yeah. And everyone just get past these speed bumps, and so they add more and more and more and more.
And whenever somebody finds a good way of making money, after it catches on, after FDev catches on to it, they nerf it.
Yeah, the fact that they have to continually do that, because here's the question: what is... Okay, here's an example. Here's a good question. What is FDev's threshold on millions per hour? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 100, 200, 300, 400. Where's the threshold? Where do they draw the line?
Yeah.
Because it's like, sometimes you can do, because some content, which would be content that would be meaningful, like combat, where you're literally putting your ship and your balance on the line, is less rewarding than content where you're just flying in circles in solo.
Yeah.
And yet solo can make, I think Lamek said 40 million an hour. And yet when you get a passenger mission that can award you 50 or 60, they blow it up.
Yeah.
For doing essentially the same thing. It's like, where's the logic in it? Where's the threshold? Where's there's no sense of progression. There's no sense of, there's no meaning to anything.
No.
And when you get it to the point where, okay, I can go do this, because what happens is when they do slip up and you catch it early enough, you go ride that train, do what everyone else is doing, make your large profit, even if it's on a smaller ship and you don't make as much. Next gold rush comes around, it's like literally don't play the game until there's a gold rush. Play it a few times when the gold rushes happen. And then once you've got a couple of billion, come back and enjoy the game.
Yeah.
That it's like Leonardo's just start you out with that. Because you can kickstart yourself, road to riches, get a decent ship, put it to the side, go play something else. You hear about a gold rush, down to Earth Astronomy, Yamek, somebody.
Yeah.
Hear a gold rush, go do it, quick as you can. Get in there before they nerf it. Get as much as you can out of it. Okay, they nerfed it. Okay, put the game down. Wait for the next, gold rush. It'll come. Okay, there's a gold rush. Go do it. Okay, now you got more. Buy you a bigger ship. At some point, you reach a threshold where you've played it now. You got a couple billion. And now you don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, and now you're going to get bored because there's nothing else to do.
You got this, the crap that you did, the crap you did to get that ship. That's all there is to do.
Yeah. That's the thing is, the only thing to do is to do more things to do the same thing over again.
Yeah.
You had to stir me up with this, didn't you? I'm right now looking forward at what's coming up in these two games, what they're telling us is coming in, and what they're not, but what we know of so far.
Yeah.
I really think the future of Elite Dangerous is in trouble. I don't think the game will go away. It's got too many dedicated players for that. But the quality of the community, they've got some good guys out there.
Yeah, they got some good guys out there. And they've also got their fair number of jerks, too.
But it's not like I expect the game to close down, but it just feels like there's no incentive to want to play it.
Yeah.
And if anything kills this game, it's the lack of incentive. The thing that makes you get excited about the game, the thing that once you get over the initial kind of ooh neat looking nice cool spaceship thingy, once you get past that and you start getting into the guts and meats of it of the game, it wears down pretty fast. Even to these guys who've been playing this game for years, who do some crazy crap just to stay interested in the game, or to prove a point. Sometimes these guys, even they're kind of like, it just feels like they're struggling to find meaning in the game.
Yeah.
And if these are your biggest supporters and they're lobbing fairly legitimate criticisms at the developers for their choices, and that they're not getting listened to, what's that say for everybody else who's just a casual player or even a moderate hardcore? If these guys are frustrated and they're trying to be polite and they're trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and they're trying to give them room to work and saying, hey guys, we're trying to tell you, we got legitimate issues and grievances here that need to be addressed, and they're being ignored, and everybody sees that they're being ignored.
Mm-hmm.
What's that say to everybody else? What does that say to all the rest of the community?
It sends a message that the developers really don't care.
What else can you come to the conclusion of?
Yeah.
It's not like these problems. It's like the only way you could not know these are problems with the game is by not playing it. They don't play their own game. That's the point you were trying to make with, Yoshi P playing Final Fantasy and Sean Murray playing No Man's Sky. Is I don't think the developers sit down and enjoy this game on a regular basis. It's a job to them, and that's
yeah. Although pick up the controller and play it during a live stream when they were trying to show off a new feature. But I think that's the extent.
Sometimes they think sometimes they kind of act like I think sometimes they're not even trying to operate this ship sometimes. But I mean, it just feels like they don't spend enough time with their own game to know how it works and what's wrong with it. It's like they put their own vision on it. That's fine, but it's not what the community's asking for.
Yeah.
And we're the guys who live with this game 24/7. And it's fine to have a vision for a game. Sean Murray had one, John Braden had one, but you got to adapt to what your community's needing from the game.
Yeah.
And one of these is not like the other.
Because if you don't, you're going to alienate a large portion of your community, and they're going to go elsewhere.
They're going to get frustrated and start looking elsewhere.
Yep.
And right now, I mean, whether they go to No Man's Sky or some other, space-based adventure game, like, the thing is, once upon a time when Elite first came out, when it first came out, there were very, very few of these kinds of games.
Yeah, very few.
There was very few places for people to go to get this deep space exploration, life in space, life as a spacefarer, however you want to define it, life as a spacefarer type of game. They were pretty rare.
Yeah.
And most of them were not of great quality. And I think in some ways, the backlash against No Man's Sky was because they were hoping that, I think in some ways, that it would have topped that experience.
Mm-hmm.
That Elite Dangerous wasn't progression fast enough at the time, and that, that this would be the next new thing. And it failed at launch to do that. But now it's coming back, and it may succeed at that. And that's going to pull people, if it does, who are people who want that multiplayer experience, that spacefarer, space life multiplayer experience, is going to pull people out of, maybe not these hardcore players, but potentially pull people out of Elite Dangerous to go play that other game that's got more content, more things to do. Whether you're looking for the space exploration or whether you're looking for the combat or, the colonies and society type features. Yeah. It's going to have that, or at least it looks like it may have that as a part of it. And if it does, and if it succeeds at it, then there's a good chance that, they're going to pull audiences from Elite. That won't destroy Elite. I wouldn't ever say that, but it's just going to diminish it,
Yeah.
and they're going to feel it, and people are just going to continue to be frustrated. What's it going to look like at the end of this year,
Yeah.
in December and January of 2019, when all the updates have been applied to both these games,
Mm-hmm.
and we get to see the final product? Where are we going to be at? And I think the outcomes are going to be surprising.
Yeah, good. In a year or so, I believe it's this year it's coming out, or next year, Dual Universe is coming.
No, that'll be one to watch.
That's going to be one to watch.
That's going to be subscription based. That's
true. That's going to be subscription based. That will limit it. I don't expect that to last long. They will probably end up going free to play at some point.
Possibly.
Like a lot of other games. They
might need it to get over their costs.
Yeah. Because a lot of games started out with a subscription and then went to free to play, and they did really well after that. It does two things
for them. It controls the influx a little bit, because if you go too far too fast, you can actually get hurt by that.
Yeah.
So it kind of puts a governor on the inflow of the population, so that they can kind of maintain the game. It gives them the money they need to build it up.
Allows them to build a good dedicated community before they open the floodgates and let everyone else in.
Open the floodgate for all the rabble.
Yeah. The rabble.
That was mean. But in some ways it might be appropriate, and others it's crude.
And then contrast that with something like Star Citizen, where they are, I think they're trying for a little too much too quickly.
Oh. Yeah, we haven't even talked about that game yet.
Yeah, where I think I think we would make that a subject of another video.
But the TLDR of it is, it's like going to the store hungry and you keep buying everything off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is they haven't left the store yet.
Yeah.
They're still in there shopping. We're still waiting for them to come out and deliver. Yeah.
I mean, what they've got so far is pretty interesting, and they've made some pretty amazing things.
It's a fascinating tech demo.
Yeah. They need to do is stop adding new features, stop adding new innovations to it, and then start adding the content.
See, this has been my thing. They are doing the exact opposite of No Man's Sky. And I've said this before. No Man's Sky, even though that their launch was a failure, what we did get was, you can easily tell if you were paying attention, a foundation, the base, the bottom layer, the minimum working technology that was functional.
Yeah.
Now, one could say it's a glorified tech demo. Okay, well, maybe it was. But it was a good foundation. You could look at it and go, oh, I bet they could do this and this and this with it. Then what we saw with the first update was, oh, you could do that with it? Cool. Then, hey, from this, we can see this and this and this. And then we got the vehicle updates with all the
Pathfinder.
And then you go, oh, I bet they could do this and that. And then you got Atlas Rises and go, oh, wow, they could do this and this and this and this and this and this. And you could see where you could go from there. And then for what we see for next, you're like reaching even taller now. You're like, oh, there's all these multiplayer battles, all these fleet battles and all this stuff. You can be hyped about it because you can see the path that you can travel down.
Yeah.
Star Citizen is trying to be at the topmost tier of graphical fidelity and design and all this other detail work. The problem is,
and they had an engine change in the middle of that. They went from CryEngine to Lumberyard. Technically, they're the same engine.
Yeah, but the thing is, they have no foundation.
Yeah.
If you stripped all that fanciness away, what's the core game?
Yeah.
And who knows?
And they haven't even launched Squadron 42 yet, which
there's
is
no
their single-player game.
And see, that's kind of funny because that's mixing their, capital ships with their fighter thing. And Hello Games, we may have those as a single thing for the first time. I do want to say this, that if those ships, those capital ships, are multi-crew ships, where it takes multiple people to fly and operate them, gunners, navigators, commanders, whatever.
Yeah.
At the same time, you can have a flight crew of 1 or 2 squadrons that are able to launch out that port off the side of that ship, and that ship can be flown and operated during combat, and those fighters can operate around that ship in combat. I am still looking for a game that can have a full-on first-person type perspective of being able to operate a capital ship and have a multiple crew, almost maybe Star Trek bridge crew kind of operation going on there. We have multiple operators of a ship, of a capital vessel, with fighter escort competing with, the opposite team having similar type of ship and setup.
Mm-hmm.
We have two capital ships shooting beam weapons or weapons back and forth at each other, whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
At the same time, fighters flying around in the middle, duking it out. I don't know of a game that does that right now.
There was a fan-made one for the Unreal Engine that I saw, and it looked pretty interesting, but it never caught on because nobody ever knew about it.
Huh.
That was many years ago. Long time ago.
That was probably was limits to it too, but
yeah.
Right now, if you can do that with this new No Man's Sky, if that's a thing, I think they might have crossed the line to be the first to do it.
Yeah.
Where you have actual capital vessels duking it out along with fighter squadrons. I don't know of another game that does that, and not just in PC capital ships, and not in a top-down strategy, RTS style either, where it's all first person. You're in those seats.
Yeah.
As your player, you're in those seats. You're in those cockpits. You got people manning those guns, crews on that freighter manning that ship, doing its engineering, doing repair work. A captain of the ship kind of with a display of the overlay of the battle, giving teams orders, fighters outside the ship, duking it out, firing weapons back and forth, trying to, take over the other ship or do damage, take out their guns, whatever the strategy needs to be for the moment. That's in the realm of possible. We don't know if we're going to get that, but right now, the way that ship looks, ooh.
Yeah, and then contrast that with multi-crew in Elite Dangerous,
which barely works.
Barely works, and is utterly worthless for anything other than bounty hunting.
And you still can't do multi-crew. God, this is so unbelievable. What multi-crew is I have an Anaconda. There's a couple of seats on board where you can take over a gunnery chair.
Yeah.
Essentially, all you get's a gunnery chair, or you can operate a mining team.
Okay, and you can't do anything unless the ship is equipped with turreted weapons.
Yeah. Now, I can go down to a planet. Now, I've got multiple SRVs on board. I can have 4 SRVs, 6 SRVs, however many SRVs I want to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can go down to a planet. I, as a commander of the ship, can drop out into my SRV. You're sitting on board.
Twiddling our thumbs.
You're just twiddling your thumbs. You can't even get out.
And you don't even get a first-person perspective view outside the ship from the turret. You get this weird outside the ship camera view.
Yeah.
From outside the ship, and it's hard to aim and target, and you get disoriented as the ship is just flipping and turning around as you're flying because the camera doesn't follow the ship's movements. So the ship
I think the intent is that you're supposed to be tracking the enemy ships, but it's weird.
Oh, it's weird. Weird. It makes it hard to target things.
And like I said, you can't even multi-crew SRV.
No, you can't even multi-crew with SRV.
You can't even
fighter bay. You can have a fighter bay with more than one fighter.
Like, for example, if an Anaconda and some of the other ships have up to three seats, commander and 2 additional pilots, right?
Yeah.
These, like, let's say I have an Anaconda with 2 fighter bays on board.
Mm-hmm.
Two fighters, a Taipan and maybe 2 Taipans. Only one of those guys can take it out.
Yep.
The other guy cannot.
For
no discernible reason.
Only your NPC.
You can send your NPC out. That's the only way you can have 2. But the logical thing, the most common sense logical thing, that the both guest commanders can take out those fighters at the same time. Now, here's the other limitation that's really annoying. Let's say you have a wing of 4 Anacondas or just a wing. You cannot mix multi-crew and wings.
Yep.
In other words, in theory, you should have a maximum of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 people total in a battle. You would have the 4 commanding large ships, like the 4 Anacondas, and then 2 guest people connected from elsewhere, taking out the fighter ships. So you have 4 Anacondas and 4 fighters.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a team, right? You think that'd be cool? You can't do it.
No.
No discernible logical reason why, other than because of the way the game is designed.
Now, can you be in a wing and then have people out from outside the wing join you in multi-crew, or do you have to be out of the wing entirely?
They're mutually exclusive. You can only have multi-crew, or you can be in a wing. You cannot do both. You cannot be in a wing and multi-crew. It does not work.
Huh.
Because it uses the same connection to do it. In other words, it treats the other guy as if he's in a modified, funky wing kind of configuration. Rather than actually treating it as if you've got the 4 at the top, and then you might have the 2 icons on the side for your fighters.
Yeah.
It won't do that. Yeah. So functionality, if you just looked at how things work, you'd be forgiven for trying it and not realizing it doesn't function. The only way you would know this doesn't function is until you try it and see it doesn't work. And then the logic of why it doesn't work is simply not there. It's just, it just doesn't work.
Well,
and there are no plans on fixing that. It's working as intended.
There are a lot of things in the game, like just the simple thing of being able to change the color of your UI. FDev has not been able to provide that. You have to use an external. You have to use an external tool to generate the XML code and then edit it into the XML file.
You don't need to do that, but you do need to actually edit the external file. And if you're on console, you can't touch it.
No,
you're locked into ugly orange if you're on a console.
Yeah,
you have no options.
Yeah,
at least on PC you can actually change your color.
And they say their excuse is because it's too hard.
Yeah. And I'm just going to put this theory out there now.
And then they release Galnet audio.
Yeah, I'm putting this. Well, you saw how maybe they might mean it when it's too hard. They tried to add Galnet audio and they completely screwed up that side panel. But anyway, that still doesn't work right.
Yeah.
I just want to call this real quick because we had talked about No Man's Sky a little bit. It's getting a new UI. I think it is.
Yeah.
I think we've seen images. I think it's getting a totally, and maybe I'm wrong, speculation.
We've seen enough from the ARG screenshots of the game from the ARG to suggest they're getting a completely new UI that makes it look like you're viewing through a HUD, through a helmet HUD,
a holographic
sort of
type thing.
like Iron Man sort of helmet HUD.
Yeah, it's going to be totally new UI. That's what I'm suspecting. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have a suspicion based on some of the images we're getting a totally new UI, and it's going to be way more advanced
and potentially HTC Vive support.
Potentially,
it's at some point, either probably not immediately at launch.
I'm not expecting that until after next is released.
Yeah.
If they are going to do it. If they are, I wouldn't expect it until that.
Yeah.
Now then again, they could just outright surprise us and go, "Oh yeah, by the way," it wouldn't be the first time they drop a bomb on you.
Yeah.
Nobody expected them. Nobody in their right mind expected any form of co-op anything in 1.3, and they just, "Oh, by the way, we're adding this." Everybody lost their collective minds.
Yeah.
So.
And I think the thing that we can take away from all this is Elite Dangerous is in trouble, and the developers.
And there's good competition.
There's good competition, and the developers show no interest in really doing anything about it. They're going their own way. They're not listening to their community.
They're not listening,
and people are walking away from the game. And even their biggest supporters, the
Are having issues
most
with it,
diehard supporters, are having issues with it.
and they're not listening to them either.
Yeah, people are.
They've got their fingers in their ears, and it's hurting the game.
Yeah, people
And
are
it's sad because I
getting fed
do
up.
enjoy playing it.
Yeah. Well, it's
This
been a
needs to
good.
be edited short a little bit.
Well, it's been a good discussion on it. It's clear the game is really suffering. I wouldn't say it would die completely. As you said, it's got enough. It's got enough die-hard players to keep it going for a while.
Yeah, it's not going to die, but it's definitely suffering.
Yeah.
From developer lack of attention.
Oh. So I have been Mike. Thanks for listening to our discussion. We'll have a more in-depth discussion on No Man's Sky later on, and also about Star Citizen later on. We've got a lot of things to say about that game.
I was very distracted by the fact that my thing was trying to make that comparison between the two, because it's that I really think the comparison is going to be stark by the end of this year.
Yep. So we'll be back with that in a later video. It's still going to be some time before we have the new set up and running. We've got to wait another week on that because we have to wait for some more for a blackout screen.
Yeah, we're trying to get the studio set up.
And we haven't even
a lot of work on that to do.
We haven't even built the new computer yet for it, for streaming and video recording, and we haven't even set up the green screen yet.
Some of the physical aspects of modifying the other parts of the house have been kind of a lot of it's just been waiting on the mail. We order stuff, you got to wait for it to come in. That's been taking time, a little bit of trial and error going on too. So that progress has been slow. Once, hopefully, I get the other blinds, and if they go in smoothly, things can progress at a much faster pace at that point.
Yeah. So over on my channel, I'm going to release a new Chloe cast that will be detailing a lot of the changes that will be coming to my channel, because Gamers Bay here is a very gamer-centric channel, doing a lot of stuff for video games, videos about gameplay. And then there's my channel, and I have video game stuff over there. But I thought I wanted my channel to be more of geek culture sort of thing, not just games, but a lot of other stuff, like talking about stuff with Marvel, which Marvel's done some incredible stuff lately, and with DC, and I watched Justice League recently, and it's okay, but we'll have a video talking about it in the future later, once we get everything set up, because I am going to be changing the lineup of what shows I'm doing on my channel, sort of scaling back a lot of the stuff on games on my channel, and doing more of the geek culture sort of stuff with anime, stuff with movies, some games and things.
When we get the studio set up, you'll have more capacity for getting these videos out in a more timely fashion.
Yep. So the Gamers Bay stuff that I will be doing will be of course gamer centric, and I'll do some gaming stuff on my channel and some other stuff. I will talk more in depth in a few days on another Chloe cast about it. But I've been Mike the Zorch, and with me has been TigerCon.
Peace.
And thanks for watching. If you're looking for a gaming community that is troll-free, friendly, and you won't encounter any problems, harassment, or any of those issues, if you want a community like that where you can actually share your ideas and share your opinions without being harassed for them, head on over to Gamers Bay on Google+. I'm a senior moderator there, so come on over, we'll hook you up, and come and join us. And also, remember, there is a Patreon for Gamers Bay, and we're also doing several other things to help build up the channel, to get the funding we need in order to improve the things that we're doing here, because we've been spending a lot of money we really don't have to build up things for the studio and everything. And this is just for me.
Broke the bank.
And there's the owner who is working with just barely anything, and he needs some gear as well to be able to do some of his videos for the channel. But again, thanks for watching. Click subscribe for future notifications. Make sure to click the bell icon so that you'll get notifications, assuming YouTube wants to give you notifications.
When they feel like it.
If you want to get notifications on all videos to the channel, make sure to become a member of Gamers Bay on Google+, where there will be notices on every new video that comes to the channel there. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.